The Civil War you were taught is a lie. Behind the blood-stained curtain, a war so strange it'd make Dickens blush. What if I told you 20,000 soldiers once stopped a massacre just to throw snowballs? Or that coffee, not cannons, might have decided the war? You'll see how the Union nearly deployed war elephants, and why a prison camp turned into a literal circus. What if I told you Congress brawled over slavery until a wig flew off? Or that Thailand's King Rama IV noticed a glaring gap in American resources, yet no war elephants were deployed? Where sometimes the truest stories are too strange to believe. This isn't alternative history. These are the real, uncensored secrets buried under textbook dust. Miss this, and you'll never see the Civil War the same way again. Today, we're pulling back the blood-stained curtain on 10 things that never made sense, from dysentery-drafted truces to the time Santa Claus was taken hostage by the Union Navy. The Civil War, a conflict that shaped America. But beneath the history books, there are mysteries that still don't add up. Why did soldiers report seeing ghosts on the battlefield? Why did Lincoln's spies carry fake mustaches? And what was really behind Stonewall Jackson's bizarre final words? Welcome back to 10 strange things that never made sense about the Civil War, where we uncover the weirdest, most unexplained moments of the deadliest war in American history. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll question everything you thought you knew. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support our channel. Now, let's dive in. The diplomatic monarch saw this as a critical issue needing immediate resolution. When regional tensions erupted into war, he seized the opportunity. In 1861, he wrote a letter to Abraham Lincoln, generously offering an unlimited supply of war elephants. He insisted these animals could break Confederate defenses, transport heavy artillery, help build fortifications, or even roam freely to establish breeding populations. Lincoln responded with a mix of gratitude and amused practicality. While deeply appreciative of the offer, he tactfully declined, avoiding mention of the logistical nightmares, such as feeding herds of elephants on battlefields or Confederate snipers targeting their handlers. He also noted that his territory was too far north for elephants to thrive. Elephants, politics, and the Civil War's bizarre. What if, by 1864 to 1865, as the Civil War dragged on with horrific casualties, some historians speculate that Abraham Lincoln may have recalled King Mongkut's unusual offer with a touch of wistfulness? A division of charging war elephants could have shattered Confederate trenches at Petersburg, while trunk-equipped sappers might have rapidly rebuilt war-torn railroads. The Siamese King's earnest but impractical proposal remains one of history's most surreal what-ifs of Civil War logistics. The prelude: a drunken brawl foretells division. The fractures of war were foreshadowed years earlier in 1858 during a bitter political showdown in the U.S. Capitol. Congress had spent days debating Kansas's proposed state constitution, a document that permitted slavery while banning free black people from living there, enraging Northern Republicans. Exhausted lawmakers argued past midnight, many fueled by whiskey and wine to stay awake. At 1:30 a.m., a deeply intoxicated Democrat, Lawrence Keat, stood up and sneered at Republican Galusha Grow, calling him a black Republican pup. Grow retaliated with racist taunts of his own, igniting a chaotic brawl that spilled across the House floor. This violent clash offered Americans their first stark warning of the irreparable divisions to come: the caning of Congress, when the House descended into chaos. The insults reached a boiling point when Keat suddenly lunged at Grow. In an instant, the chamber erupted into violence, a spectacle so chaotic it would become known as the Brawl of 1858. Representatives swung fists, furniture, and whatever weapons were at hand. One congressman hurled a heavy brass spittoon, striking a rival's head with a metallic clang. The brawl turned even more absurd when Mississippi's William Barksdale found himself trapped in a headlock, enduring repeated blows to the skull. As Barksdale broke free, his wig tumbled to the floor. Flustered and red-faced, he snatched it up, only to jam it on backward. The sight of his lopsided hairpiece sent the entire house into uproarious laughter, draining the tension from the room. Even the speaker's attempts to restore order by pounding the house mace failed. Some thought he was encouraging the melee. The aftermath: a fragile peace and war's silent killer. The legislators finally settled into a grudging agreement. Their clash had proven how quickly political tensions could erupt into violence, but also how a single humanizing moment, like a man's clumsily replaced wig, could disarm even the bitterest rivals. While Civil War battles dominate history books, soldiers faced a deadlier foe in camp: rampant disease. 2/3 of all military deaths stemmed from illness rather than bullets, a consequence of squalid conditions where open latrines sat upstream from drinking water and lice-infested blankets doubled as beds. Dysentery reigned as the war's top killer, with chronic diarrhea afflicting 99% of troops annually. The infamous Tennessee trots didn't discriminate. Generals and grunts alike spent battles clutching their guts between volleys. The war's silent crisis: latrines, disease, and bizarre battlefield etiquette. The conflict's true legacy? It proved an army marches on its stomach and dies by its bowels. While bullets claimed 110,000 lives, dysentery and typhoid slaughtered over 300,000. Field surgeons categorized stool samples like artillery grades: mild galloping or cannonade diarrhea. This crisis birthed one of warfare's strangest protocols: unofficial latrine truces, where neither side fired at men relieving themselves mid-battle. A Wisconsin soldier wrote, "Rebs waved handkerchiefs when nature called." We returned the courtesy next morning, from spectacle to suffering. The fighting unfolded just miles from Washington, where early war optimism led civilians to treat the conflict as weekend spectacle. Hundreds packed picnic baskets to watch the war's first major clash, the Battle of Bull Run, or First Manassas, as if it were a sporting event. Yet behind the lines, germ theory emerged too late. Though discovered during the war's final years, most armies still drank from parasite-filled canteens. Good guts meant survival. The phrase entered military lexicon not as courage, but literal criteria. Men who couldn't withstand months of intestinal torment died dehydrated in fever tents, their bowels turned to water. Ironically, amputees fared better than those drinking contaminated water. The Battle of Bull Run: war as spectacle. At dawn, caravans of curious civilians streamed toward the Virginia countryside, treating the war's first major battle as a day's entertainment. Well-dressed spectators claimed hillside perches. One woman peered through opera glasses, exclaiming, "How splendid!" And my, isn't this first-rate? As cannon fire erupted. Entrepreneurs built twin 40-foot observation towers across Water Street, charging 15 cents for adults and 5 cents for children. The illusion shatters. The mood shifted when Confederate forces rallied. A sudden cavalry charge thundered toward overconfident spectators who'd wandered onto the field. Panicked civilians abandoned their champagne baskets and parasols, fleeing through clouds of dust and gunsmoke. Some were captured, others vanished in the chaos. This disastrous picnic battle became a wake-up call. Both sides realized the war would be bloodier and longer than anyone had imagined. The University Greys. Scholars turned soldiers. In 1861, the University of Mississippi became a Confederate allegory in miniature. 135 of its 139 students enlisted, abandoning classrooms to form the University Greys. They marched under a banner stitched from a professor's robe, their initial orders sending them to Bull Run, but fate intervened when their train derailed near Manassas, delaying their arrival. Colonel W.H. Moore, their commander, became the Greys' first casualty. The campus transformed into a sprawling hospital, its lecture halls reeking of gangrene. 4 students too young to serve mopped bloodied floors. Elmira Prison, the North's Andersonville, New York's Elmira Prison, became the Union's answer to Andersonville, a hellish compound designed for 5,000 that swelled to 10,200 Confederates by 1864. Overcrowded barracks festered with sewage-flooded ditches, while winter temperatures plunged to minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Macabre tourism, yet locals treated it like a zoo. The prison's twin observation towers, one torn down after prisoners flashed obscene shadow puppets, funded Union artillery through ticket sales. Gawkers cheered as emaciated inmates staged mock minstrel shows. One diary records a prisoner shouting, "Enjoy the show, Yankees? We'll dance on your graves." Of the 2,933 who died from malnutrition and scurvy, African-American Sexton John W. Jones ensured dignity in death, secretly recording each Confederate's name and home county as he buried them in frozen ground. The University Grays, scholars in the storm of war. By Gettysburg's third day, only 23 of the original 135 University Grays remained. Assigned to Armistead's brigade during Pickett's charge, they breached Union lines at the angle, one clutching Euripides' Hecuba, another with Aeschylus's Agamemnon stuffed in his shirt. A Pennsylvania soldier later found their banner wrapped around a dead color bearer. Their journey to battle had been delayed when their train derailed en route to First Bull Run. Colonel W. H. Moore, their commander, lost 2 toes days earlier when his revolver discharged during a drunken toast. Snowball Warfare, a winter rebellion. February 1864, Dalton, Georgia. Robert E. Lee's Army of Tennessee awoke to a crystalline anomaly, 5 inches of snow blanketing rifle pits. For boys raised on Dixie's red clay, this white marvel sparked instant rebellion. Before officers could intervene, 20,000 frostbitten Confederates, many barefoot, launched history's largest snowball brawl. The 1st Tennessee and 3rd Georgia formed rival armies, sculpting icy forts and stockpiling frozen ammunition. "We charge not with rebel yells, but Virgil's verses," wrote Private Thomas Walton, a fleeting moment of levity in a war where coffee cost $12 per pound and rats sold as meat in Richmond markets. Santa Claus and the Blockade. War's assault on childhood. As the Anaconda Plan choked off supplies, Southern parents faced an impossible choice: explain war's cruelty or preserve childhood magic. Some spun grim realities into holiday myths. Alabama fathers claimed Yankee sharpshooters downed Santa's reindeer. Georgia mothers whispered Admiral Porter's cannons imprisoned St. Nick at Fort Delaware. One girl recalled studying smuggled Union maps, moving toy ships and crying, "They'll catch him," till Mama burned the maps. When Vicksburg fell, Union troops distributed captured Confederate sugar and lemons as Santa's delayed gifts. Children's letters flooded Lincoln. "Please tell Santa we're good rebels." Legacy, empty desks and unhealed wounds. The University of Mississippi reopened in 1865 with 93 widows attending memorial services, their sons memorialized by 135 empty desks in bullet-scarred classrooms. For generations, Southern families retold these stories not as war losses, but as first betrayals, where Yankee came to mean monster, and snowball fights masked the nightmare of scurvy and starvation. The Great Snowball Battle of 1864, Dalton, Georgia, February 1864. When 5 inches of snow blanketed Confederate camps, war-weary soldiers seized a fleeting chance to remember boyhood. What began as scattered snowball fights escalated into a full-scale battle, complete with icy fortifications and cavalry charges. Highlights of the chaos. Colonel William Gordon of the 42nd Tennessee galloped through the fray on his sorrel mare, waving a coffee-stained neckerchief as battle colors while pelting his own men. Cavalry cadets executed flanking maneuvers, ambushing enemies with snow-packed haversacks. A Virginia private wrote, "We formed square like Waterloo, hurling volleys till our fingers froze, then charged with bayonets of icicles." General Patrick Cleburne's staff arrived only to be mobbed by snowball-wielding teens. "You'll court-martial the whole army, sir," laughed a major as Cleburne wiped slush from his epaulets. An unlikely truce, the battle's most surreal moment, came at dusk when a fleeing Confederate dove into a rain-carved gully, only to find a Union soldier already crouched there. Their muskets aimed at each other's chests, they struck a deal. "You're my prisoner," hissed the rebel. "Like hell I am. Then let's settle this proper." For 7 minutes, the armies stood silent as the men brawled bare-knuckled, the Confederate landing haymakers, the Yank countering with jabs. When the Northerner collapsed, spitting blood, the victor helped him up. "Now come into my hole," he said, steering his dazed captive into their shared shelter. War's bitter aftermath. By nightfall, temperatures melted both snow and respite. The Tennesseans trudged back to trenches, their laughter dying as Union cannons resumed shelling. Henry Morton, 17, of the University Grays, wrote, "For 3 hours we remembered being boys. Tomorrow we'll die like men." Within weeks, half the Snowball warriors fell at Resaca. Their frozen carnival lived on in letters. One soldier's diary later stained with tears at the wilderness where former Snowball foes shared canteen sips between volleys. The unsung fuel of war, coffee emerged as the conflict's unlikeliest lifeline. Union troops treated their daily brew with near-religious reverence, while Confederates boiled acorns and chicory. At Saunders Field, a captured Yankee traded his last beans for mercy, proof that even in hell, some rituals remained sacred. Coffee, combat, and the Civil War's strangest truths. The Union's secret weapon, caffeine. Historical records reveal that the word coffee appears more often in Northern soldiers' journals than bullet, Lincoln, or even mother. The Union Army issued 36 pounds of beans per soldier annually, and enough for 10 daily cups of strong Java. This wasn't just comfort, it was strategy. Medical officers. Noted caffeinated troops marched longer and reloaded faster. General Benjamin Butler timed attacks for mid-morning, declaring, "A caffeinated regiment fights like 3 sober ones." Sharp's Rifle Company even produced firearms with built-in coffee grinders, a feature used more than the trigger. Grinders wore out faster than gun barrels. Meanwhile, Confederates, cut off by blockades, suffered caffeine withdrawal. They roasted acorns, chicory, and even charred sweet potatoes into bitter sludge. Men traded tobacco rations for stolen Union grounds. The war's hidden humanity. These stories, elephant proposals, snowball armies, Santa Claus in chains, aren't just quirks. They're cracks in the marble monuments, proving war isn't fought by statues, but by people. People who traded Virgil for volleys, yet brewed coffee like it was gunpowder. Weaponized Christmas magic to shield children from horror. Shared canteens with enemies after snowball brawls. The unasked question, if we got this much wrong, what else is buried? What other wigs, gully duels, or phantom elephants hide in unopened letters? The war we just unearthed is stranger than the one we've memorialized. So here's the challenge. Comment your wildest Civil War, what if? What if Lincoln had accepted Siam's war elephants? What if Cleburne's snowball tactics were used at Gettysburg? What if coffee shortages hadn't crippled the Confederacy? History isn't just what happened, it's what we've forgotten. And sometimes the truths we ignore are the ones that matter most. P.S. For the record, yes, a Union soldier once traded his last coffee beans to avoid capture priorities.